Greetings, football lovers. Welcome to another episode of Ball Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, part of the Ball Chat family. I am Benton. Come on, Junior, what going? How you guys doing?
I'm good enough. How are you?
I am doing well. Junior, what going, Bridget? Are you guys happy with Edson Cavani transfer, brother?
I am like this guy and I'm doing a detox right now. So please leave me alone.
Football Lovers Ball Chat Podcast is all about reviewing the week's major news in the world of football, aka soccer. But today, we don't have any ballers and bugs. We have a general, a baller that's joining us at the top end of the show. If you know Jamaican football and you follow it in the 90s, the name Andre Virtue is revered in certain circles. JC alumni, midfield maestro, Ballers International director, head cook and bottle washer at Ballers International. Andre, how you doing, General?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me and for all your listeners as well. Yeah, good to be here with you.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. We're going to talk about some of your work that you're doing at Ballers International, and we're going to take a little walk down memory lane. We have to talk about that JC team, that big bad JC team in 92, 93 thereabout. But we'll talk about some of the wonderful work that you're doing at Ballers International. Football family, if you're joining us on Flow Sports YouTube page, Ball Chat Facebook page, or Ball Chat YouTube page, you can join the discussion. You can send on the comments or questions. We'll talk to Andre at the top of the show. Then we'll talk about some major news in the world of football, transfer news line. Then we'll wrap up at the back end with previewing Man City versus Arsenal. Talk about Everton versus Liverpool, as Liverpool seem to getting COVID positive test results left, right, and center. And then we'll wrap up our show with Yawd Ballas, highlighting Jamaican football players overseas. All right, let's kick it off. Ballers International. Andre, Ballers International seems to be centered around grassroots program. Why grassroots, Brethren? Because we need a whole heap of help. But why grassroots? Why did you choose to go the route of focus on grassroots players?
Well, when I decided to move back to Jamaica in 2001, 2002, I could have been involved in a number of different things. Obviously, being a former player with this passion to give back. I look back at my formative years and look at where I thought I had the most impact on my football. And it was as a young player. I was in my prep into high school, and I realized that was a missing component. Some of the benefits that I got when I was growing up, I didn't see it around. I didn't see the exposure for players to get to see things differently. And I thought this would be the greatest contribution I could make. It wasn't really about the numbers. It wasn't really about the excitement. It wasn't really about the popularity. It was really about going where I thought it mattered most. And so Ballers was born out of that, where I said, Lord, what do I do?
Yeah.
So when you have a love for the game and you have your country that is there, go back home and make a difference. And so that is where Ballers came in to meet a need that I thought was lacking at the time.
Yeah, and it's a very much appreciated push and work that you're doing with Ballers International. One of the things that I've noticed about Ballers International, you guys seem to be centered on the players, not just on the field, not the product on the field itself. You guys are looking to develop citizens, better men, essentially. How do you guys go about doing that? You want them to know that there's a life before football, there's a life during football, and there's a life after football. So you want them to become better citizens. How do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look back also on my own thing, I got a scholarship out of the game. I was able to further my academics as well as football by getting a scholarship. I see the value that football gave me. I saw the benefits of meeting and learning different cultures. I saw the impact that it had on my peers and my colleagues. And I realized that there's more to this than just the football wins and losses. And so we wanted to create winners on and off the field. A lot of my own personal journey and recognizing what football did for me, I realized that Ballers had to be. So, I mean, Ballers is an acronym that stands for balance, attitude, love, leadership, ambassador, zeal. And so everything from coaching to administering to playing the games, we want that to be When you look at a player, you look at a coach, or look at our programs, it has its beginning there, but it also has its life through there. So it's very, very important when we look at the international level. It's not just the talent. The talent opens the doors for many of them, but is what keeps them or what gets them to the next level. It's character, it's discipline, it's the intangibles as we would have called it, the things that we take for granted, the things that we don't spend time on are the downfalls of many of our players. It's not because of their ability or their talent. The talent opens the eyes, the talent makes somebody come and take a look, but what is going to get that kid to be, or that player to be consistently that consistent player for a national team and even at the international level? We only have a few players that have made it to the international level and played in the top leagues. And so I look back and realize that, if we're going to make any contribution, it has to be a contribution about making a better man, better woman, a better community leader. I believe if you have better people, you have better players, and they have a better team. And so the focus is on about better people.
Love the work. Love the work. I have a ton of questions, but I don't want to hug the show. I don't want to take up all the questions. Come on, Junior. Before Junior answer a question, Andre, I want to let you know that we have to take a look at walk down memory lane regarding that JC team. Come on, Junior. Go ahead with questions for Andre if you have any.
So, well, Andre, I want to know what is your, seeing that you're doing the philanthropical work, and Jamaica is such a talented place where sports is concerned. What is one of your major frustrations right now when you think about where the sport is and where the sport can be in your eyes? And what are the frustrations that you think are stopping the players from getting to that level?
Oh, wow. Gene, that's an excellent question. I think one of the frustrations I have is our short-sightedness, lack of vision. I think coupled with a lack of vision is the being unwilling to partner, to collaborate. We're very all for me, all about me, and not about us and what we can do. It's not difficult to sell Jamaica as a brand. We're a very powerful brand. However, it's the other things that people are afraid to deal with. When I come to Jamaica and have to deal with certain issues relating to Jamaica, I get frustrated because it's all about what is in it for me. Obviously, anybody who's in grassroots knows that it's not a payday, it's not about money. So you have to do it for the right reasons, else you get spit out very, very quickly. And so within that context is that you have to realize that you have to find the things that helps you to build something that is authentic. So when you look in the Jamaican landscape, I think if we were to create a more collaborative environment where you're putting a player first and his or her best interest, you'll find that there's a lot more people who are willing to come around you and help to strengthen and to build you and to support you. But when it's just about you and, it's all about, what you are going to benefit, your persons are a little hesitant to come in and to support. So I think that the lack of, if you have vision, you realize the value and importance of collaborating and networking. And if you see, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you need to go together. These are things that for us to come out of where we are, we have to be very collaborative. We have to be very, we have to have vision. And I think those things provides a base for which things can happen.
Spoken like a true midfield general. So people like me is a corner league midfield general, so I understand the vision talking. Go ahead, come on.
So I know when Miguel Coley was leaving, right, or was rumored to be leaving, your name was out there saying that you would take over as the head coach of JC. I guess from the interviews that I've read, you're like, okay, I don't know anything about it. Can you say why that was not something that you wanted to do, or did it not tie into what you vision, what your vision was? Because I guess you haven't probably watched our show before, but they'll tell you that my biggest problem is schoolboy football. I completely hate schoolboy. It's schoolboy schoolboy football. It's
Wait, hold on. Those are the views of Come Only. We don't hate
exactly,
schoolboy football on bar
exactly,
chat.
and that's fine, and I will own it because I know my sister knows you. So my sister is Kadish Fishley, and she speaks highly of you, right? And Kadish has the same vision that you have. So we live in Central Village, and she started an academy because she saw the need, where we realized that football really helps, a kid. Help, just what you said, you got a scholarship to Howard. The same thing can happen to a kid that we know in our area. So we started that. And for me, I think the emphasis in schoolboy football is not placed on the entire person. It's usually winning a trophy for the school. So I know kids have not fulfilled their potential. Basically, I know kids right now who is 7 years of high school, right, and they did not get encouraged to do the SAT. So now, after being in high school for 7 years, winning all the trophies, being the man in high school, they're stuck now on the corner. So my problem with Scuba Fuller is just that I don't think they're pushed enough. And I like the meaning of what Bala is, what it represents, what it stands for. And I want to know if, you didn't think being the head coach of JC was something that tied into your philosophy. That was a long question. Sorry. So long.
No, that's fine. It's good to actually have a better background. But I have watched the show a couple of times as well, so I do know. I know a lot more than you think I might know. But that's a very, very good question. When the time was coming for Coach Coley to go, there were a lot of rumors that were out there, and it would have been a natural thing as a former JC player in coaching that if there was ever a job out there, it would be to coach JC's team. Leading up to the time, I'll be honest with you that we didn't have any conversations with the leadership of JC, with the principal or whatever, about me being the coach of the team. Would it mean that it wouldn't be something I would be interested in? I think just being a JC, a true blue to the bone, to the heart, everything about me, anything that I could have done to support the team, I would. So I do a lot of work behind the scenes with JC. But to really answer your question specifically, I was more concerned about JC on and off the field, not just about winning Walker Cup and Money Cup. And therefore, my question after the rumors had died down and I did speak with the school, was it would be about ensuring that the whole football student-athlete approach would be what I would be more interested in. From they enter into the school in first form to when they leave and go on to college or go on to pro or don't go on to any of those things, but our transition into work life, that we are thinking through that. I live to live the legacy of my father, who was a JC standout and full manager of the team. And it wouldn't be something that he would be happy with, that it was just about winning trophies, because he helped so many of those players to become the men that they are today, and they're not professional players. So to live out that legacy, I would have to stay true to his heart and then continue the work that myself and my brother do at JC is more than just winning games. It's really about helping these players to become better men. And so that is my philosophy. And obviously within that, if the school is prepared and going down there, then maybe that is a conversation. But based on where I am and what I'm doing right now, I think there's a lot more I can do for many young people, not just for JC. But if you know the ballas program, 60-70% of our players are Jamaica College students. So I do a lot of what I do behind the scenes in helping to support them and build them up and get them where they need to go. But that rumor was out there. I was not in a discussion about being the head coach, but a lot of people thought I was.
Well, I mean, like, you would be the perfect choice. I mean, JC, oh boy, a very good midfielder. I mean, but is there a way that there can be a collaboration? Because, for example, my godson, and he's going to kill me because I talk about him all the time. He was playing, he played schoolboy football. They won a trophy the other day with St. Catherine, and I still haven't told him congrats because he still has not gotten maths. So, my issue with that was when he was playing, he was a star football player. Coaches love him. They pick him up, do everything for him. But when I asked him, I said, how are you going about with your SATs? And his question was like, what is an SA, what is SATs? And then I said, let me speak to your coach. And the coach asked me the same question. So I was so upset because you are tasked with leading these young men on and off the field, where you were looking at the here and the now. There was no plan for after schoolboy football. So is there a collaboration between ballers and not only schools, but maybe academies or teams that are playing in little leagues? Because I know you're still the head coach of Ligani, correct?
Right.
And you have players who play, for you, who are schoolboys. Right. So is there a collaboration between the football and the schoolwork?
Yeah, I mean, any player, I think one of the most attractive components of what Ligani is to our high school, many of them could play Premier League for any Premier League team, was the fact that we have communicated to them what the next steps are. Once they are football players, student athletes, we have to have a plan. Where are you guys going? What you need to be doing? So we talk to them about SATs. We talk to them about doing over their subjects if they need to. We talk to them about, we have interviews. I mean, if I've had a few of my own talks with college coaches talking about what they are looking for in a Jamaican student athlete and why some of them can't make it to the US. Not because they are not good players, but they lack these areas. So if they want to make it to the next level, these are things that they need to be considering, need to be thinking about. We have quite a number of players who are in college that came through Ballas and JC who are doing very well getting scholarships. So to the extent that they are not mutually exclusive, they have to be paired. And if you are here, I mean, there is a reality, we have failed them as coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I put on myself as a coach generally, that we as coaches have failed our players. We make them believe that they are star players. We make them believe that everything must be done for them at a plateau. But at the next level, none of those things are applicable. They struggle at the next level. And so there's a very important part that we have to acknowledge, that academically we have failed some of the players, so them get through GSAT or common or PEP, and they get into high school, and they're able, because they are football players, to get all the way through to when they get to fifth form, where there is no more getting by, and I'm stuck at that point.
Right.
And then spit them out. And so for me, it is very, very important that as coaches that we recognize the responsibility that we have with our players. And any coach that is coaching at the high school level who don't know and don't understand about the SATs and about CXC and about matriculating into tertiary school don't need to be coaching. Because coaching is not just about coaching the X's and O's. Even at the international pro level, they talk to you about the type of player that they want. They want players who are thinkers. They want players who can solve problems. They want players who are team-oriented. That don't come by just winning games. It comes by you putting a star player on the bench if him don't come to training, or let him understand that there are times when I need to support the team, and I'm not going to start you today. I'm going to bring you off the bench. And if you have an issue with that, then maybe it is not where you're going to play. You might have to go somewhere else. We don't have many coaches. So because of that, now the player can leave from me because coach fight against me, and go to another coach, and the coach is going to laud him as a star player. So the collectiveness of us as coaches is to make sure that we don't keep these players thinking that they're any star players. They are valuable to the team, but they are as valuable to the team as the other members of the team are valuable to the team. And that is something that has to be a philosophy of the coach. That once they come in, you don't compromise. You let them know this is who we are, this is what we're about, and if this is not the environment you want to be in, you might need to then choose somewhere else. But this is what we are about. So are you
frustrated with the level of coaches? I mean, maybe you can't say that because you have to work with them, but are you frustrated with the level of coaches and the hookups that actually run? Because I say it all the time. I mean, it's not because she's my sister, but she's as qualified as any man. and she
Mm.
could not get a job because of it's like what, my friend, and you get a hookup and whatever. And it doesn't translate into what you are talking about in making these young men the best that they can be. So
Right.
are you frustrated with the level of coaching, coaches, and just the system on a whole where they're actually just failing the kids?
Yeah, I mean, there's a frustration generally, and the frustration comes at what possibly we could achieve and what we're not achieving. If you look at it in that regard, when you look at what we could achieve as a country, you realize that we're so far from there. So when you then break that down and you ask yourselves why. We do need to expose our coaches a lot more. We need to have a better structure and a better support system for our coaches, because there are persons who probably want to be certified, want to be exposed, but the avenues for that are not as accessible as you'd want. And then you allow for those situations to speak for itself. When you have coaches who are held accountable for their delivery and what they are doing, then you find that the quality improves, and the ones who can't manage are going to drop out. But when you don't have those structures, a lot of people can get by with just winning a game and win a championship and being a big coach. And there, at the level that we're talking about and the impact that we want to have, it requires a zeroing down on our coaching education. It requires a work in also the coaches themselves having greater aspirations. I want to be the first coach to coach in Italy, in Spain, in France. I want to coach in North America, not just in Jamaica. I mean, we have a coaching school with over 1,000 coaches, but we only have 12 Premier League teams and we only have 6 national teams. So where are you going to coach? The reality of it is the pyramid in the coaching is very small at the top. So you want to be able to, expand that vision even beyond it. And you and all of us here would know that you are not looked on in your own country. So it might mean that you have to come out to Jamaica and everybody else out of Jamaica respect your work and value your work, and then Jamaica comes calling. It's culturally something that I'm frustrated with, but I only have one life to live. I don't know when that is going to change. So while I am hungry about what I am doing, and Kadish is the same, let's look and expand our wings. Let's go and impact the world. It's not just Jamaica. We're Jamaican to the bone, but if Jamaica don't want to, then let's go somewhere else and operate.
Good
Perfect example, Miguel Coley.
Right?
Yeah.
And other coaches in Turks and Caicos and all over the place. I mean, there are more happening, but there's more of those type of things that need to happen for us to get more experience and to get more exposure. And then when those coaches can share their experiences to our local coaches, then our local coaches kind of realize that, wow, this world is like music or music industry. We complain that, everybody outside is benefiting off our music. But then you have to look, is your music marketable? Are you marketable? Do you need to learn another language? These are things that we need to look at, because the landscape for coaching is broad and the access to coaching information is a lot more than what we are currently providing. I know there's work being done on the JFF and CONCACAF, but until it is at a place, there's stuff that we need to be doing ourselves to be able to expand.
Yeah, good stuff. Football family joining us today on Ball Chat. We have Ballas International Director, Balla himself, Mr. Andre Virtue. Quick, just a couple more questions for you, Andre, regarding Ballas International. Personally, I'm a countryman. I Russia, Mr. Russies. And Munnins, well, Munnins are that side, but Russies. How do players from the rural area get access to the resources that Ballas International have to offer? Is it just centered around corporate area? I know you've had teams that have gone overseas and have played in competitions in the US and etc. But how do rural players access the resources, or do you have satellite campuses over there?
Yeah, I think that speaks to just the growth of where Ballas has as part of our vision. We started in the corporate area. It's where my base is where I have access to the resources. But part of what we want to do is obviously for the country itself. And so where I am limited in the reach, either with my own resources, either through whatever else I'm able to do. So I do camps outside of Kingston, where I partner with other things. I might not call it Ballas, but I know that I myself is extending. So I work with JFF on the grassroots initiative. That's not called Ballas, but a lot of ensuring that the access to the game and more people getting involved, those are things that are able to do until I'm able to be in a better position to ballers to be able to set up more satellite locations where we could offer more what it is. But it is a challenge. Obviously, working in youth and youth development, the resources are needed. And I think where I am lacking in my own, us as an organization doing it, I think there's a lot of coaches that we've come across over the years that we have poured into, who have come and called and asked questions about how we did it, what did we do, that we've shared, and they are doing it in their respective parishes, and there are a lot more that is being done now than before. So not because it's not ballers being called, I think for us, our names might not need to be called every time, but I think if we can serve someone to become better coach or run a better program where they are, which we have done, and they in their own time will talk about that, but we've done what we can do with the resources that we have.
Yeah, man. Every mickle make a muckle, as my granny used to say. We appreciate your work, Brethren. I appreciate the work. What age group do you have? I saw where you guys won U9 tournament. What age group is it? U9 and is it boys and girls? And how do players actually get involved in the ballers setup? How is it? Parents who see the players, parents who reach out to you guys. How does the connection take place?
Right, so let me just give you a quick roll. So our program is, we have a little ballers program, which is starting at 3 years old. So 3 to 6 is our little ballers program.
Okay.
Our junior ballers program is 7 to 12, which focuses on the prep and the primary school age. And then our bigger ballers is 13 to 16. Okay. This is our development program where people come, they pay to be a part of the program, they do what they can do. Within our development program, we have a 70-30 commitment. So the model is that obviously I need to find a way to keep this going. So 70% of the person's pay, but the 30% is sponsored. So there's a number of sponsored kids in the program that comes from relationship with our coaches. Each of you could say, boy, coach, I have a talented kid, don't have the support, I need him to be in the program. He'll be placed in the program. He or she doesn't look any different than another kid. Anything that other players get, those kids get. So they get access to the training, access to the equipment, everything that is. So that's our development program. Outside of our development program, we select from that and put into our academy. And we have our U10 through to our U17 players who are in our academy. Our academy is then used to look at playing in local tournaments and overseas tournaments. And the tournament that you're referring to was a tournament that we chose to take our U9s, U10s, and our U12 tournament in Williamsburg, Virginia. It was I would call it a B tournament. It wasn't the best tournament, and because it was the first one, we chose to go somewhere where we believe we could have gotten exposure, but not the most challenging one. We took around 65 of us went, parents and kids, to be able to give them the exposure of what this next level that we're going into would be. This is now an investment in exposing players to what it feels like to travel, what it feels like to have to stay in a hotel, to travel in buses, to play in tournaments over weekends. That was our first official step out into this is what it's now going to. And this is because a lot of the work that we did before was really about us establishing and setting up ourselves locally. And we said, we need to now start getting our players exposed. We lost out on a number of our players earlier who could have gotten those opportunities, but we did not get them to travel. We didn't get them exposure. And we said, we can't make the next crop that's coming up to get through to not get that experience. So our development program, our academy program is what feeds our club, which is Ligani United. The history behind that is that as an academy, we can't play any competitive football in the country. And therefore we need to be associated, we are aligned with a football club. Most of our players in trying to play competitive at 13 or 15, we wouldn't have any control of the players. Obviously the players would get to play for the clubs, and then the clubs would then claim them and say it's them develop them or them build them. We would have sit down there kind of like, okay, but you didn't. So we had to kind of do something to ensure that we were able to do it. So 3 years ago, we got the opportunity to start youth football with Ligani, and then we started at Major League and in Super League, and majority of our academy players are funneled or filtered through Ligani. So that is kind of the pathway. Outside of that, we coach at a number of schools, which is after school. We're going to the different schools and we coach there. And, we have our camps in the summer, in the holiday times, Easter, summer, and Christmas. So when you look at it, it's a year-round development program, some 36 weeks of football always being done. And that way we have continuous support of our players. We release the players when it's school time. You want to play for your prep school, your primary school, your high school, we'll fully support you. It's not, in a football landscape, is not what we want in a professional next level landscape, because, players need to be playing 9, 10, 11 months. However, we have a very strong traditional school system, and we can't fight it at the moment. At the moment, we kind of just have to work with it. So we fully support the kids to go into their school system, but as soon as school programs are finished, they stay with us all the way back again to the school system. So that's currently our setup, and within that we are working with both boys and girls, and we have a coaching complement of approximately 18 coaches, 5 who are full-time and the rest of them are part-time, and that's what we deliver at the moment.
Yeah, good stuff. Before we get your thoughts and get the rest of the football family thoughts on some major news in the world of football, we have to take a walk down memory lane. That JC team, I don't want to tell my age, but I followed that JC team closely in the 90s, 92, 93, thereabout. Brethren, how comes you guys didn't win the championship that year, brother?
Well, bro, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's nothing that could have at that time said that we weren't. We were a team that was coming from, your viewers and listeners would have to understand the history. So coming out of prep school, quite a number of my teammates went to KC and Georges.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wanted to go to Georges because...
Wait, hold on, George.
Hold on. Previous show, so I have to bring credit where it was from a solely football perspective at the time. You follow your friend them. As a JC, and I grew up with JC. I mean, True Blue was always there. It's not that I denied that.
Yeah.
And father said, go to JC. If you don't like it, then you can move. I don't have to tell you that the rest is history.
Yeah.
But from that first JC team, we went to the finals against St. George's College at DNG Oval, and the same group of players beat us then.
Yeah.
It's the same play from Pepsi all the way through Coles into Monaco.
Yeah.
Coles in 1989, we beat them 1-0 in the Coles final. This is before the Walker Cup final where JC was playing Tivoli Gardens. So we beat them. Very rainy conditions. On paper, Georges have star-studded side. Them can't lose.
Yes.
So we'll go through it, and in a very controversial to the Georgians is that the guys going to goal. But we did take the victory. We had 1-0. And then that same squad building up over the years, it got to that place where we're like, boy, we are not going to go down in this final year and not really push. So, I mean, we were so motivated, we were so committed as a group coming from Pepsi that we had a strong team, but a team that worked for each other. It wasn't about names and stars. It really was about, in essence, that I was probably the outsider that came in as a star baller. But everybody has had so much star qualities, but they were primary school baller, no-name baller, but there are so much good players that when we came together, it was an amazing journey for us that we went through. Training, the coach Bradley didn't have to do much for us in that final year. We trained on our own, we ran on our own, we were fit, we were amazingly, unbelievable fit. People feared us, and so we went into that game and we played our heart out. I mean, everything about that game went down to it. I mean, I am known today for the man who took a 30-yard shot, hit the cross, come out. What if that is scored? To this day, I'm still being asked about that goal, and then as the ball came back out, Donald fouled the control ball in chest and kick it, and Robbie. The notation in the papers that following morning was Georges owes it all to Robbie. That's the headline of the paper. So I was up against a very solid group of players. I have to give credit where credit is due. Robbie is the best goalkeeper I've ever played against. I mean, I took around 10 or 12 shots that were definitely goal bound that Robbie save. I mean, he was amazing. So I think when it's all said and done, we gave all that we could. But in that final, it came down to penalties, and I'm not a passer of the ball, and never bust it. So I kicked first, and when I kicked first, Robbie touched it, but it went in the goal. And my rest of my teammates who are placers said, "Why, if you touch your one, why not with mine?" So mentally and psychologically, the last. So that is a story. I have great friends to this day that are that came from George's, and the history of what those two. The challenges that JC and George went through over the years really created some very quality football players in terms of just what we were able to achieve as footballers, the lessons learned, the camaraderie, the friendship, the camaraderie that we got. To this day, we are friends, and so you look back and say this is kind of what football should have been at the time. We're enemies in one sense, but it helped us all to be the players that we are. So that is the JC background. So they want more than we, but we did do our little fair share. There's amongst a lot of respect that was given to that JC team and my players as well.
Yeah, and Bradley Stewart was the head coach of that team, right?
Yeah, man, Bradley was the coach. Yes.
Bradley was the coach. Now, I mean, regardless of what transpired in that final, and those matchups were exceptional. I really enjoyed the problem I had as a Jamaican football fan is the failure of that talent, that cohort of talented players to not make this massive transition into the national setup. But that's a whole nother story. We appreciate. I mean, I thought that those teams were really fantastic. I mean, you had midfield maestro, of course, with yourself and players at George's. I just thought that Jamaican football dropped the ball heavily on that cohort of players. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, when we as a national team went to play in under 20 World Cup at the time, we are from Steve Green to Andy Williams to Trevor Spencer. I mean, big names: Gregory Simmons, Kevin Moyoung. I mean, there's so many players that you look at, but I mean, it's no different than I think we've made some steps, but again, the lack of development, the lack of planning, the lack of investing in youth football was not there then, and I don't believe too much has been done in the development. There are some that has been done, but to the extent that you need to spend more and invest more in terms of developing our players, it would have mean that there are so much more. The only thing for us at the time was to get scholarships to leave Jamaica. And when we left, and Coach Simonis came, it's like, school, what are you talking about? I mean, you can't be in a school. If you're a baller, you're playing football, you're not going to school. So at that point, if you're outside of the national setup, it was very, very challenging. And he was the only one to be able to break in based on that. Everybody else who was away kind of had to make some tough decisions, whether they were going to give up where they were to fight in a system that there are no guarantees. So those are the challenges why a lot of those players fell through, because there was just nothing for us. If you don't, I mean, I traveled to Europe. I was in England, I was in Sweden, I was in Denmark. I was trying to do it all on my own. But if you don't have no caps, you're not playing for Jamaica, you're not going to get no work permit. So you kind of don't have nowhere to go. So if you think about me in 1999 going to Sweden, what you're talking about now, where we have persons going to Scandinavia, how much years ago that was?
Yeah.
And if I did it then, you thought about if there was better, if I at that time was to say, I played for Harborview and Waterhouse in the Premier League, and if I was to say to any of the coaches at that time, send a kid to Sweden, like Sweden, that's not money about Sweden. I'm not paying £1 million or $2 million. I'm like, but if they got into the system earlier, forget about payday today, but get them out. Get all the young players that you can get out. Get them exposed. Get them into that environment. And the more them out there is the more that, we're looking at Jamaica now and saying, now we need some more. And they will now start taking younger players. They'll now put them in a more professional environment. They'll learn more. It might mean that maybe everybody wouldn't have made it, but we'd have more making it, and which mean that now there will be a lot more avenues for our players to get into. So my thing is, there has to be more to development. There has to be more that is spent in development. It is the greatest investment that any federation or any leadership needs to take in our football. And I have no apologies for that. I think if you invest in our youth, it will pay dividends that you will not be able to quantify for years and years to come because of just how much it has done for football.
And speaking of development, big up to Jason Frame. He said, big up Captain Virtue, man who man of the middle at the park. And a big, speaking about development right now is Jason says he used to be Andre Virtue playing in his community. He's a ball passer. His community needs some development in football. If Jason is the Jason, I am the community baller anywhere. No. Come on.
So Andre, so talk about development. What about fields, man? I mean, like, come on. We have to do something about the field. We have to, because I think a good field will improve play.
Yeah, when you think about development, come on, development is not just coaching, it's not just player, it's infrastructure, it's administration, it's all of those things. So if I just talk about development and miss out those things, it's not really development. At the academy, we're spending our time with the coaches, we're spending our time with the players, we're spending our time with the administration, we're looking at how we can improve our infrastructure, putting an astroturf facility, we're working on the grass field. Part of which is because if you don't have those things for the players to be able to play on consistently and train, you're not giving them the exposure. And I mean, if you can't give it to them here locally, they wait till they travel to see. So if you can imagine, if we went to the under-9 tournament then in Virginia, if it's the first time them seeing grass, 12, 25 manicured pitches with lights and well manicured and together, the first time seeing that, and you have to talk to them and say, this is what the future that you're dreaming about is. So when you come back here, don't take it for granted what you have. Look at what you have and realize that you need to change it. So it is.
Yeah, I've been to Williamsburg. I've been there for tournaments, but I've been there. It's very, very cold. I can't feel my fingers. But the fields are good. And I remember the first time when my son came and he got interviewed, and I remember him saying that my stepdad says, if I can play on the field in Jamaica, I can play anywhere. Which is true. Because I'm like, after you're used to all the boogie yaga, when you get the good feel, you're gone clear.
Well, come on, you say it is true, but I have to challenge that, I mean, because we can play on any surface and we're resilient and we can adapt. But the reality of it is nothing like a touch on a professional surface that improves your technicality and your technique. That when you are now going into a competitive environment, your touch is pristine, your touch is at a whole nother level. So therefore, when you go into a trial or you're going to somewhere, you're not being questioned about it. You're now able to step into the environment and show your class. We will over time adjust, but I don't want us to overtime. I want from the first day we touch that surface, we tell them, yeah, man, we can knock it, we can touch the ball, we can pass. So we have to do more. The government needs to invest. There's so much we need to do. The government, the federation, private sector needs to invest in it. We talk about, we celebrate when you're seeing medal, we celebrate when our players get a contract. But I want us to be able to celebrate before it happens. I don't want us to be the ones when we're only celebrating when it happens. You have to do it from before. And when you're talking about the kind of money to develop, it's not in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money to develop one or two more quality surfaces that people have access to and can play ball on.
Spoken like a true midfield general. Maestro, push it up against the clock.
You have to come back, Andre, because we have to talk about the women's game. You have to come back. Because we don't touch that part and beg to go blow a gasket because we run out of time. But you have to come back because that's the part that I worry about, the women portion of football in Jamaica. So you have to come back for part two.
And just to give you one more comment from Jason. Jason said he met Andre at a seminar at Robbins Bay Hotel, and he would like to know how his grassroots program is going. Jason, we spoke about that earlier. Like you just said, you just joined. So the show will be re-aired, obviously, so you can definitely catch up on that. But Andre, like Jason, he met you at a seminar at Robbins Bay Hotel. So I guess that's where him get him little touch from, He a little bit of the generalship rub off on him, but Jason, I have the better.
So we're pushing up against the clock, football family. We want to touch some major games coming down this week. Andre, we know you're a baller. You're a general, midfield general, and we know you're a fan of the sport. Your thoughts on a few games coming down? We have Everton versus Liverpool, big game. Your thoughts on this game, Andre? I mean, Liverpool is. By the way, do you support any team in the EPL?
Manchester United.
No, I don't have my players ask the question. I don't really have a team that I support, and the reason being is that as a coach right now, every year is a whole different squad. You can just buy yourself a title. So growing up, I grew up on watching Liverpool. I grew up on watching Tottenham. That's what I grew up on. So yeah, with the Jamaican players that have played on a number of teams, you kind of support it. But right now, I look really how I'm looking at football is really seeing how the coaches are coming up with them different strategies to win. Specific to your question, Ben, about Everton and Liverpool. Liverpool obviously has a squad. I think they are up against Everton team that is obviously have quite a quality, with a good coach, a good team coming up. So they're going to be challenged. But I think there's a quality. I think there's a transition that Liverpool is going to go on just because it's a whole new season. People are coming at them like never before. A lot of what they used to do before would have to be there. So it's good to see how they're going to adjust to that. I think over the long term, Liverpool will still be one of the front runners, but they are going to be tested, and Everton is going to give them a good test coming up.
Yeah, and come on, and Junior, and notice you guys have, what, Everton winning that game, or Junior have a tie? Well,
I have a 3-3 tie. Because, trust me, what happened last week to Liverpool against was West Ham?
Aston Villa.
That isn't an aberration. We all know Liverpool cannot handle anybody that lives in between their centre halves and the midfield and the wing backs. I've been saying that for 2 years. And enter James Rodriguez that lives in that. Come on, man. 3-3, easy.
Hold on. Are you talking about Imes? Not James? Right.
Imes.
On the man name.
Imes. Until it look like a rock, so we'll call him James.
So come on, Man City versus Arsenal. You have Arsenal beating Man City. Come on, step away from the glue. You all right?
If Mendy player,
if
Kyle Walker player,
if
I think Arsenal is coming around the bend. I think they're finding form. Even though Man City bought that expensive defender, I don't think that he is already cemented in the terrible backline that Man City has. So I think Arsenal will win if David, because it's not David, because him is a rock, if David no make some blunders.
Andre, you're a midfield maestro. What do you think is going on with Manchester City? They seem to be in a spot of bother. And is Kevin De Bruyne is as good as people say he is?
Yeah, I mean, I even watched him today playing. He is definitely a quality player. I do believe the respect given to him. But a lot of what he's able to do is dependent on the system that they're playing and the players that he's playing with.
Thank you for saying that. The system that he plays. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a quality player. I think they have the selection process on who is a combination of who plays where. They're holding midfield and how that holding midfield gives Kevin the ability to roam and to move is very, very important. And who is the additional player that they have inside that midfield. But he can break down a defense with his movement and his passing. But I think the consistency of that is also dependent on the changes. The teams are constantly being changed and who you're playing with and so on. But I think they have to address that. They have to address that holding midfield, and they have to address who it is that's playing inside that middle.
And I value midfielders, Andre. Who do you emulate when you played? Who do you really said this is my star midfielder? Who do you look to? If anybody.
anybody who can dissect a midfield. So I look at Kevin, I look at Bruno, I look at Pirlo. In terms of just their passing ability, their vision, their ability to unlock defense and back lines. I also at times would have to respect.
Seems like you're breaking up there a little bit. You stay with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear. Yes, I heard that. Respect.
Yeah, I said I also have to respect those who, the Iniestas and whatever, different type of midfield players, when I'm used to playing there in terms of just the ability to move the ball and so on. But I think the modern players are those that I call that I think are just a different level of player. But, back in the day it was Zidane in terms of how he used to move the ball and play the ball. But Pirlo could make a pass that was crazy.
Yeah.
So as a midfield, you look at the maestros, those who can, change the tempo of a game. I think there's a huge difference in the ability to do that.
The ability to do that. All right, Andre, I know you're pushing up against the clock. How can people get in touch with Ballas International? I know you have seminar and mentoring programs set up. If families want to get in touch with you and what you guys doing, how can we reach out to you?
Yeah, we're on our platforms on Instagram and Facebook is at GoBallaz, GOBALLAZ. Our email address is info@goballas.com. Those are our best avenues to do. We will have our website fully up and running soon. We have one now, but I think those are the best ways for us to contact us, either on Instagram, Facebook, or via email. Parents, anybody who is interested for us to be involved, we do coaching education, we do football player development, and a lot of who we are is about mentoring the next generation of coaches, so we can coach the next generation of players to be different. That's who we are and what we're about.
Yeah, man. I
want to say big up to let's get dressed now on Instagram. Renee Linda, she said Go Ballas is such a force for youth development in Jamaica. Renee Linda, I apologize. I have just seen the Instagram post, so when you watch the replay of the show, I am apologizing to you 50 minutes into the show.
See, Manchester United fan. Andre, wish you all the success, brethren. We want to wish you all the success. And you'll have a home here in Ball Chat whenever you want to disseminate or get information out. You're part of the Ball Chat family. Midfield maestro. We need another midfielder in the family.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Definitely look forward to it. And come on, I'm more than willing to come and talk. I know. I told Ben that my time was limited, but obviously there's a lot more we can discuss, and anything to help to progress the game and to bring more value to it. I'm more than willing and prepared to do so. So thanks for giving Ballers a voice and for persons to hear who we are and what we're about. And guys, keep up the good work. You're giving person an opportunity to know more about the game and to learn more about Jamaicans all over the world.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming.
And hey, before you leave, want you run for JFF president one of them days,
Don't make it get in trouble. Stop it.
The views you just heard is my
everyone. Bye.
Stay safe, family. Stay safe, Andre. Pick up yourself, family. All right, so come on, Yawd Ballas. Let's segue to Yawd Ballas, highlighting Jamaican players overseas. Come on, Phoenix 1, Wagwan.
So let me start with the good news. So Khadija Bonishaw scored 4 goals, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what you call it. African 1, 2 brace. We don't know what you call it. In a 6-1 victory. So now she has 6 goals in 5 games, and she leads the Golden Boot race. So Speedy Williams, which is Devon Williams, and Jason Johnson helped Louisville beat Kenardo Forbes and Pittsburgh by 2-0, scoreline. They move on to the next round. Damian Lowe and Kevin Lambert advance to the next round of the playoffs with a 1-0 Tiffin and goal Maradona style goal by the captain Asante in extra time versus Sacramento. So they move on. Everybody upset. Twitter is ablaze. NICU, Daly, and Charleston Battery eliminated Dane Kelly and Charlotte Independence by a 2-1 scoreline. That match had me on the edge of my seat. It was so good. Nico Brett and Birmingham lost 4-2 in a thriller to Jordan Scarlett and Tampa Bay Rowdies. So the highly touted Norman Campbell, remember everybody was saying that he was going to sign in Serie A and he was going to go to Watford. He signs a 1-year loan deal with FK Grafikar, me butcher that, in Serbia. So he will be on loan from Harborview. Saeed Robinson scored the winning penalty in the PK shootout for El Paso to beat FC Tulsa 4-2. And I must say this, I think I remember that our own Donovan Ricketts was with FC Tulsa, but if he is the person behind the goalkeeper named Sean Lewis, trust me, Ricketts should be Jamaica's goalkeeper coach. He exceptional goalkeeper. So Ricketts are doing little things. So big up to him. Romeo Parks and New Mexico move on to the next round due to a 1-0 victory versus San Antonio. Kadeem Dakers and St. Louis moves to the next round after defeating Hartford Athletic 1-0. And Kanya Plummer and Denisha Blackwood, they both play for Orlando Pride. They lost 2-1 to the Houston Dash in NWSL action. So that's my roundup.
And come on, what's going on? I thought RSPL will be starting soon.
November.
Somebody.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that somebody who asked. I'm sorry, but Ice King TV was asking, when will RSPL be starting back again?
November. So now so this is really waiting on the spike in COVID to go down. Mark Golding, they came together, they were talking about following protocols and meeting new standards. So now they're not going to have any fans, and they have to pay to put some things in place. But as of right now, the new tentative start date is November, pending the spike in COVID goes down.
All right, pending approval by the Minister of Health and adhering to COVID protocol, right?
Yes.
Yes. And another thing, Junior, you were saying?
Oh, and big up to Renee. Renee was asking a question a while ago that how is the academy going now with COVID? How can which is she, keep her kids active? And does he have programs now? So we did talk about that earlier, Renee, because the show started an hour ago. Again, I'm sorry I just saw your Instagram message, so you got the message late. But I don't want to speak for Andre, but he did play in a recent tournament, right, Benton?
Yes, they're playing a tournament in Williamsburg, but he's continuously running sessions. They're running either virtual sessions or, he's actually, I think he's scheduled to have a mentoring session now. But in terms of keeping kids active, I think it's probably best to reach out to them at Ballas International. He definitely have programs that they rolled out in the COVID climate. Junior, do we need to big up any new subscribers? Ian Thompson, big up yourself.
Yeah, that big up Crime Minister, big up Renee Lindo. And no, that's it.
Yeah, and
big up to Marco. Big up to Marco Pratt. I don't. Well, he put it on Facebook, right? Come on, so we can make it public. We can make Bar Chat family know. Marco Pratt has recently enlisted in the Navy. So salute to Marco Pratt, the new boat driver in the U.S. Navy. Can you be driving boat?
It was about 100 pounds, but I walk past him and never know that him. Pick up yourself, Marco Pratt.
He lose 100 pounds except for that head, because head still big.
Big up yourself, family. Big up yourself, Marco Pratt. Stay safe. Junior, come on. I don't know. We are getting to the February yard,
That's it.
Bless up.
Yeah, man. Ball Chat family, you can connect and remember, subscribe. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ball Chat Podcast. Subscribe to our Facebook page at Ball Chat. If you want to connect with us at social media, connect with us at Instagram at Ball Chat Podcast. We're on Twitter at BallChat1, Facebook BallChat. You can email us at ballchatpodcast@gmail.com. If you don't have Andre's contact info, you can email us at ballchatpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send on the pertinent information to you. Yo,
Go Ballers. Go Ballers. Go BALLAZ on Instagram. We're also on Periscope, people. If you're on Twitter and you want to watch our show live, you can watch it on Periscope. So make sure you do that. Big up to Flow Sports. Follow Flow Sports as well. Salute.
And big up to Crime Minister. Crime Minister says ball chat turned JFF recruitment strategist. Big up yourself, football family. Stay safe. We're going on the road now. Come on.
Later.
Bye.